Hi, I'm Dan Schinder,
And I'm Steven Schinder.
and we thank you for following Yesshift or giving us a chance if this is your first episode that you're diving into. But this will be interesting. We're going to talk about the second piece released from the album Quest.
Yeah, this is also like the second track that's listed for the album. We got the Ice Bridge about a month or so ago, and now we have Dare to Know. So I'll just read a quote from Yes World that Steve Howe said about the song. He actually composed this one, like he's credited as the writer of it. And so what Steve Howe said is, Dare to Know presents a guitar theme played within many different arrangements, with different chord structures and altered textures. The idea mentioned in the first verse gets described later as an awakening to the subtle goings-on within our bodies and mind, all geared to nature's scheme of things, all fluctuating and rearranging according to the principles of life as we know it. The centerpiece leaves the orchestra alone to elaborate and develop the way the theme is heard, then augments the closing minutes of the song as it rests with an acoustic guitar cadenza. So what stands out to me about that is two things. First of all, Steve Howe is very articulate. I love hearing him describe all this stuff. But the nature thing that he mentions, like, I guess that might be a common theme between these two songs we've heard so far. Like, the Ice Bridge was about climate change, and he mentions like nature's scheme of things for Dare to Know. But yeah, do you have anything to say about any of that before we move into our initial impressions of the song?
No, not other than I agree with you, and I do love how he almost describes it like wine companies or a sommelier would describe wine.
Yeah,
Um,
like if songs were liquefied and you just took a sip, you'd be like, it has hints of relayer and tales from topographic oceans. See, I said it correctly that time. Um,
exactly. Yeah. So he definitely is really good at translating that. And yeah, I was a little surprised. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because I expected otherwise, that he is the sole writer and composer. He wrote the lyrics and he wrote the music, which I thought was interesting.
yeah. So the song dropped on September 1st. Like when I first heard that it was gonna drop, it was like several hours before, and it was not on my radar that this was coming because I thought we were just getting the Ice Bridge and that would be it. But yeah, and unlike the Ice Bridge, I didn't wait until midnight to see if it got posted. I actually saw it available in my region, US Pacific, around 10:30 p.m. And so I clicked on the YouTube link and gave it a listen, and I was kind of surprised because I'd heard a couple advance reviews from people who listened to the whole album, and Dare to Know was one of the songs they mentioned, like that they were praising specifically. And so I guess I was kind of expecting something more in the vein of the Ice Bridge, which, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have, but it was lighter and it didn't jump out to me at first, but it took me more listens to really appreciate it. And I can get into all that as we continue this discussion. But what were your initial impressions?
Honestly, basically the same. There's little argument, as subjective as this topic is, there's little argument that it's a beautiful piece of music. And the lyrics are meaningful. I love all of that, but I have to say, after waiting so long for a new album from Yes, and with this lineup and everything, I really would have loved to hear something more energetic and with more time signature changes and something more representative of that side, something to really hook me in and say, I can't wait till the rest of this comes out. Whereas this was like, it's a beautiful piece of music, but as a musician, as a music fan, as a Yes fan, I wanted to bite into something that had bit more of what I said. I'm not going to say substance because this has a lot of substance, just not the substance I was eager for as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you were looking for more chocolate and you got strawberry, and strawberry is a great flavor, but it's not necessarily what you were looking for in this
Exactly.
instance.
And as you know, I'm married to chocolate. So there you go. First
Oh my
preference.
gosh. All
So
right.
yeah, and then the music video, um so again, it's a beautiful music video. It's a beautiful video, but it could have been put to almost anything, in my opinion. As a music fan, as a Yes fan, I don't care to see a song played out as a story. I'm not looking for abstract art. I want to see a video that shows the musicians playing the song, even if it's separately. And I know that during COVID and all this stuff we're all going through, that they weren't in the same studio, all recording together. I'm pretty sure that that was not the case. And so it's a little bit different, but I still would rather see a video of each of them recording their own parts or however whomever got together. I'd rather see the guys and girls playing, when it comes to a music video. To watch
Mhm.
this other thing is a beautiful cinematic production, but I'm not going to put it on and watch it for that. I will put on a music video and watch it to see the artist play rather than just listen to the song. This I won't do that with. And I'm not saying they're wrong. This is just my take. And I'm sure I'm not unique. I'm sure there's other people that would be like, the music's okay. Oh, but the visuals are amazing. Everyone's going to have their different take, and there's no wrong or right. I'm just saying my preference. Again, I forgot to put on the timer, but we always go about an hour or whatever. So hang with us, people. I'm not even going to turn it on. Stephen and I always forget, and then we guess. So how long do you think it is? And we see. Anyways, that's my take on the music video. I could take it or leave it. It's beautiful. It could have gone to 30 other songs. It's not like it was. I hope I'm not insulting anybody. Like made specifically for this. It doesn't tell the story. It's just some beautiful stuff, which is okay. But it's not what I personally am looking for in a music video. Now I'll shut up for a couple minutes. What did you think?
Right. So I have a few things I want to say about the music video. So it does feel, parts of it do feel like they could go to anything. Like you have these kaleidoscopic moments that feel kind of random. Like the music goes good with them, but it doesn't feel specific to the song. And it kind of reminds me of, John Anderson has a YouTube channel
I
where
was I was just gonna jump in and say it looks John Anderson induced, like something you know what I mean? It totally,
yeah.
maybe that's intentional, tie that whole Yes legacy thread together to make it feel. But go ahead. I was just thinking that.
Right, because over the past couple of years, like he's been like on his channel, there have been videos of songs that he's done solo or with Yes or maybe other artists, and these music videos are sometimes, they sometimes look pretty random and have like kaleidoscopic images to go with them. I guess that's, he just loves seeing those things. And so this felt kind of in the vein of that. Like there are some videos where he includes footage of the band performing of that era wherever the song came out. Um but this music video for Dare to Know, like with the Ice Bridge, we do get images of like who's in the lineup, which is good because we still get people who like they comment, "Wait, who's in the band right
Is
now?"
Bill
Like,
Bruford still playing drums with Patrick Moraz? Is it
is
still that lineup?
is Eddie Jobson still in the band? um, so I do like that they at least include photos of the band, but it would be nice to see them performing. Like you brought that up, and I agree. There are things here and there, like the eagle. It does feel specific to the Quest cover to me, because in the Yes logo for it, you do see like a bird within the stained glass design, and I guess maybe that's supposed to be the eagle. And also reminds me of ABWH as well. So the
And the
the
mallard
eagle,
from Yes shows.
right? Yeah, and so the eagle looks great. I can't tell if it's real or if it's 3D animated or whatever, but it's I guess that's a testament to if it's artificial, it looks pretty good to me
Yeah,
anyway.
I think I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's artificial. And folks, like always, I forgot to say this. Stephen forgot to say this. My mom forgot to say this. Chime in with everything we talk about. This is a conversation. We're not talking at you. We want to know your takes on all these things and things that we might miss or not bring up that you want to. Please comment on this. But Steve, regarding the eagle, what I noticed that I thought was really interesting, and I even freeze framed it a few times, is there's a layer of feathers when they show the eagle sort of like from above and behind, if you will. There's a layer of feathers where there's like a light blue
Oh
light
yeah.
inside that layer, and that's what makes me believe that it's artificial. There's almost too much detail, and there's not too much. I'm just saying it's extremely micrographic, if you will. And I wondered, like, what is that light? I think it makes it even more of an ethereal kind of being or something. I don't know, but there's something about the signification of a bird in Western culture, in North American Native culture, where there's, well, that's why it's also the bird of America. There's a whole freedom aspect to it, soaring, flight. I think there's a lot of different messages in any bird being there.
Yeah, and thinking back, I guess it makes more sense that it would be artificial because it's like, are they really gonna fly up there or get
Yeah, how'd they
like,
get a drone to be that
yeah.
close? And
But yeah, the eagle looks great. The water looks great, and
oh, that opening scene that I mentioned to you with that waterfall and stuff. Like, I wonder, is that real? And where is it? It looks like Netherlands, Switzerland,
right.
maybe. There's a TikTok Switzerland channel that me and Enja and I follow. That's a travel thing, and it reminded me of that. It's like that's the kind of place I want to go to. So as critical as I might have sounded about the video, I didn't mean to sound critical about the video itself as far as its own artistic and visual pleasantries. It's just matching a video like that up with a song like this. Just it's a separate issue for me, is what I'm getting at.
Right. But here's a funny thing. So, like I said, that night, when it dropped, like I gave it one listen and I was like, I guess that was okay. But then when the music video itself was posted the next morning, I gave that a watch. And that's what made me enjoy the song even more. Like it sort of clicked for me. Like I thought to myself, if this were in playing during the opening credits of a film, this song would really stand out to me. And it feels like a really good film score music to me. And, I've given it several listens since then, and I appreciate it more and more, especially the part like 2 minutes in where you get to hear the orchestra and it sounds majestic. It's like dun, 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 dun. Like it feels very reminiscent of some of the orchestrations on Magnification to me. And I think you and I were thinking that there were some familiar elements of the song and we couldn't put a finger on it.
Yeah,
For me, I think for the opening guitar bit, the do 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 do, like the very beginning sounds to me like reminiscent. Maybe it's the same type of guitar from To Be Over, or maybe even like the end of Long Distance Runaround. So
that's interesting. The more I listened, I was starting to equate the familiarity to some magnification stuff.
okay, yeah. So yeah, I guess we hear bits of 70s and early 2000s yes in it, and
Yeah,
so yeah, I guess it sounds like yes. I've heard people say online that it sounds to them like a Steve Howe solo album, which I mean he composed it, but when I think Steve Howe solo, I feel like he mostly does instrumental. So because there are more vocals on this, I don't automatically think Steve Howe solo.
right.
Um, and we do get vocal harmonies on this. Like that was one of the things that people were saying was missing from the Ice Bridge was the vocal harmonies.
Yeah,
So what'd
although
you think of those here?
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually surprised when I dug deeper into the credits that the duet is just John and Steve, and
Right.
Billy is such a great singer and prominent singer, lead or harmonies. I was surprised that he wasn't credited for vocals at all. And I think that's a testament that I think this might be one of the best pieces of Steve's singing, if you will. And it does work with John Davidson. I was just surprised that Billy wasn't singing. I was also surprised how detailed they were about listing everybody's instruments other than Alan. And as a drummer and the Drum Talk TV guy, I take notice of this stuff. And I've known Alan since 1989. And when I just see drums and not a more definitive list of the gear, like for Steve and Jeff and Billy, I'm just a little, and I got to say this gently because I never know who's going to hear this and I don't want the wrong idea to get across.
Right.
But I'm curious if those drums are sampled drums of Alan's. They sound like his drums, but I wonder, is he playing them or are they samples or are they triggered and he's playing them? Because it doesn't list Ludwig drums, Zildjian cymbals, Yamaha DTX, whichever Yamaha electronic drums he's used before. So I was just kind of suspiciously, I'm doing your Tales from Topographic Oceans thing from the last episode. I was curiously suspicious about that. That's all. But
Right.
having said that, I do like the vocals. The more vocals in Yes, the better. It's part of their
Yeah.
ethos in a way. It's just it's part of their instrument lineup. It always has been.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Billy saying in an interview recently that Alan played all the drums. So, I guess I'm just kind of taking that at face value. I guess I'm not really thinking that hard about the instruments. But looking at the credits, I guess I don't know if we knew this name before, but the conductor is Oleg Kondratenko. So yeah, I guess now we have a name for the conductor like we did with Larry Groupé on Magnification. So
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with the name. And I want to mention one more thing about the music. I would like Jeff's Hammond organ to stand out a lot more because honestly, after reading the credits, before I knew there was orchestra, I thought that was Jeff. I thought that was him. But now that I read that there was Hammond organ, I really had to listen. And I don't like having to search for a sound if I see something listed. I'd like to be able to hear it and go, oh, that's a Hammond organ. Or you know what I mean? So
yeah,
kind of like Billy's first, I'm sorry, in the first song where I was saying Billy's bass is way back in the mix and other people were too. I think you did.
yeah. Jeff was really up on that one. So this is kind of
and
like
now
the
it's
opposite.
like it's like just it. So Ian Gillan on Made in Japan, in between a couple songs, he says, "Turn everything up louder than everything else." Can you all just do that? I mean, I understand dynamics, but make the signals hot. Let us hear these great players and their instruments. Turn everything up louder than everything else. I just love that quote.
Yeah, like when listening to the song, it didn't occur to me that there was Hammond organ on it. I was like, one thing I did think, funnily enough, was when I hear that really cool orchestra bit 2 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I want to hear more of that in the song. But maybe if they had more of that, it would drown out everyone else even more. I don't know. But
Yeah.
so hopefully the songs sound more balanced throughout the rest of the album. Was there anything in the lyrics that stands out to you? Like I have them open, like I think it's like below the video. So
Yeah, honestly, I've read through them a couple times. I've listened to the song a few times. I haven't dug deeply enough into that element yet, to be honest with you. I've mostly been focused on the music and the production and the vocals. I do think, as Steve Howe articulated, not to get you too confused
Right.
about the what the song's about and everything. I totally see what he's saying in the lyrics. Other than that, I don't have anything else to comment on yet.
Okay.
You?
I yeah, I like these lyrics. They're very positive, and we
Yeah.
associate less lyrics with positivity more often than not.
Right.
When I was listening before reading the lyrics, I thought that the line "I'll share it with you and see what we find," like I misheard it as we'll share the view and see what we find. But
Oh,
I guess like it's still the same sentiment, like people coming together, sharing knowledge, I guess. And you have some like mention of sunsets and ritual to celebrate, words to chant, to wait. Like I mean, I could just read the whole thing, but anyway, like I I like how this is worded. I enjoy these rhymes and how the words fit together. I think it's well written lyrics. So yeah.
cool. And Steve brought up an interesting question earlier. He said, do we think that they were always going to release a second single for the album, or might it have been released in response to the Ice Bridge controversy? I didn't give that any thought until you asked that. And I think it's possible. And maybe because that it wasn't in order for them to do that, that's why we got the song we got rather than something more aggressive like I complained about, because maybe those aren't ready yet. Maybe they didn't finish doing the final mixing and mastering on everything yet. That might be why.
Oh wow. Like with the album a month away, I would imagine everything's finished, hopefully.
You would hope so, but
Yeah.
you never know. You never know.
um
Um,
but so my take on it is I mean, we talked about this before with the Ice Bridge. Like, people's thoughts were clouded by, like, oh, who wrote the song and all that stuff. And it kind
right.
of soured it for some people. And so we were saying, maybe we need to hear
Give
another
them a yes
song.
song.
Like you and I were kind of half joking, half serious, being like, they should release another song for us to hear from this album.
Yeah.
And so, what I think is that this second single was always going to come out. Like, I feel like if this was in response to the Ice Bridge controversy, it would have come out sooner, maybe a couple weeks ago. But as it's,
Unless it wasn't ready.
yeah, I suppose that's possible. But like thinking about the release schedule, like we got the Ice Bridge, like early August, I believe, maybe end of July, and then we got Dare to Know September 1st, and that's very much like halfway between the Ice Bridge and the release date for the Quest. So to me, it seems like it's just a natural rollout. Like, hey, here's a little reminder that this album is still coming out in about a month. We're getting closer and whatnot. Um, so so I think this second single was always going to happen. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm leaning toward.
Eventually we'll find out, because we'll have one or a bunch of them on the show. We plan to do that, and we'll be able to put the screws to them and ask these questions in a very
Yeah,
nice way, because we do like them.
yeah,
We
and
yeah.
I was just gonna say, and this next question is kind of difficult to answer since we don't know what the rest of the songs sound like. But like, should a different song have been put out instead as a second single?
No offense to this composition, but if other songs were ready, I think if they know their audience well enough, they probably should have put out something more aggressive, something more that would get more mass approval amongst their fans. And maybe I'm wrong, and they went the opposite way and thought this would be an easier one to get more mass approval, because you can't hurt yourself dancing to it. It doesn't go from 4/4 to 5/8 to 11/16 to 4/4 like in the old days or
Yeah,
something.
to 2112.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
um,
and Steve's wearing a Rush shirt for our Yes
oh
show.
yeah, it's the Roll the Bones t-shirt. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see
Yeah.
both it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We need to buy a bunch of Yes shirts. We've each got like one. What the fuck is up with that? For
yeah,
all
but
the
mine has
dozens of
four
time I've seen.
different band logos on it, so it's like four in one.
Yeah.
Um, but I can kind of see maybe they thought that this would be good to put out to show that there's variety on the album, that's not just all one thing. It's kind of like maybe the album is a bit more eclectic and they want to like convey that to the audience.
Yeah.
um
Maybe.
yeah, I'm thinking back to like the way the track order is, like the Ice Bridge is the first song and Dare to Know is the second track on the album. And so I was trying to think of if there's like any example of Yes doing something similar on other studio albums with like similar run times even. And the example that came to mind first for me was on From a Page, that EP mini album, whatever, with the In the Present lineup. That began with To the Moment, which was very heavy. It's like and then the second track is Words on a Page, which is lighter. It's like dun, 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 dun,
Well,
dun, dun. And
when you brought this topic up, I immediately went to Going for the One, where it goes from
oh yeah,
going for the one to Turn of the Century.
yeah, like that came to mind too, as well as I guess Machine Messiah and White Car kind
Yeah, that's a
of, but
contrast.
yeah, but White Car doesn't feel as complex as Dare to Know, in my opinion.
Of course,
And
yeah.
I guess even Homeworld and It Will Be a Good Day, maybe. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Let's go
So it's not
to
unprecedented, but yeah, that's just like a comparison that came to
yeah.
mind.
Maybe that is part of their the way they program stuff. I didn't think of that. Let's read some fan comments because we've been kind of scraping our posts and other posts to see what people think. I'll go first if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred my French mouth isn't working. Fred Beaulieu. Hey, Fred, great carpet manufacturer, actually. Do you own Beaulieu carpets? He says, pleasantly inoffensive, just lacking the energy and inspiration of previous albums, such as Magnification. I'm not turning to newer bands like,
It says I'm turning.
I'm turning to new bands like Haas Froberg and Musical Companion to satisfy that craving. By the way, I'm a Yes fanatic from the very beginning, not a hater. So that's a nice, honest take from someone who doesn't come to the party with a chip on their shoulder. That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Fred.
Yeah, like the songs aren't going to be for everyone, but you can still be civil about it. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Like it's always great when fans are respectful with each other.
Yeah.
Daniel Crone says, "I love it, but I will admit it." But I'll start over. I love it, but I will admit it took the second time to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much like what it was like for me. So
And
yeah.
the second time, I mean, I've heard music by some of my other favorite bands. It took a lot more than just the second time.
Heat of the moment.
As huge of a Rush fan as I am, there has been some stuff that I had to listen to a few times to so yeah, I totally get that. Thanks, Daniel. Charlie Nolan says, a great song. I like how the orchestra intertwines with the band melodies and arrangements. I like the vocals and guitars too. Nice positive feedback. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, and then we got Tom Matwas, who actually got like a reply from Henry Potts, who runs that Yes news site, Bonde Kazoo. So Tom says, though I liked the first song released, I can't get into this piece. It's not rock, it's more a film score. Sorry, that's just my humble opinion. And then Henry says, it's not very rocky, but then they are a progressive rock band, so they go beyond rock to absorb other influences and styles. So yeah, I think that's a fair point. Like I know some people want more rocky, but yeah, two different perspectives, both very valid. Yeah.
Yeah, and no reason to apologize for how you feel about something unless you hate our show. Then you definitely owe us an apology. Just kidding. You're free to hate on that too. Just be civil about it. Joel Y. Pyrard. I hope I'm
Perard,
pronouncing your name
maybe.
right, Joel. He says, I loved, in all caps, I loved it. Reminds me of bits of that is. Steve, I think you mentioned that at one point when we were talking about this. Yeah?
No, I did not mention it, but
Oh,
I've mentioned
maybe Joel did
this.
then.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're remembering when I mentioned the song on other episodes recently, because like I keep saying, that is, in my opinion, is the best Yes song that's never been performed live. I'm I'd have to keep on listening to see where that is similarities might be, but that's interesting. But so yeah, thanks, Joel Perard. I hope we pronounced your name right, but yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Um, and this next one is from Paul Michael Moon Rogers, who says, it's really good new Yes. Along with the Ice Bridge, this track points to Yes, both being respectful to their past and simultaneously unchaining themselves from the somewhat extensive baggage of the past. It sounds like they took their time to develop the material, and if the rest of the quest is this good, it will be a memorable first album without Chris.
That's a very interesting take. And again, it just goes to show you people feel differently about anything artistic. And the same goes for food. And, so he really likes it and points out some really interesting elements there.
Yeah, and it mentions first album without Chris. Like I haven't really thought about whether well, I mean, with every new Yes album, it feels like it's felt to me like, okay, this could potentially be the final one. So it's like I never know like if they're gonna keep going. So it'd be interesting to see if they do make another album after this with whatever lineup it ends up being. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, it's good to see like it's good to not want Yes to just be the past, to just be the 70s. Like you can honor the stuff that came before but also try new things, and I really like that approach from them.
Cool. Thanks, Paul. Dave Creek, our last fan comment that we're going to read, says neither of the songs is a Heart of the Sunrise or And You and I, but these seem to me like good, solid second tier Yes songs about like the material on the latter and magnification, which after the boring and mundane heaven and earth is a welcome relief. So um, I totally get that. I don't think there'll ever be another Heart of the Sunrise or And You and I. In fact, I think the closest thing that's been done to an And You and I is maybe To Be Over, which
I was
only,
just thinking that.
yeah, which only came a couple albums later,
Yeah.
still part of that same era. Maybe there's, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else. That's back in the day where they had so much more latitude for being able to be creative with the record labels, but it's also people's mentalities and the generations were different, and what was acceptable, quote unquote, was different. So I don't think there'll ever be another one of those, but I totally agree and understanding with what Dave is saying. Me personally, for the second tier Yes songs is a very interesting take because I think we could all look at different things as what that means. For instance, if someone younger just discovered Yes with the ladder, they might not be able to get their heads around about what that means because the ladder introduced them to this band who's now their favorite band. So again, it's all subjective. And I personally happen to love the ladder. I think it's the most underappreciated Yes album. And I love Magnification. I never thought there'd be a Yes album without a keyboard player, let alone one that I would absolutely just love. But those are great takes. Now, I have to say, I agree with Heaven and Earth. I've said on the show before, I've said it in many private conversations with, by the way, Steve and I are related. I don't know if any of you know that. We're both brothers. And
No.
no, I'm his dad. I'm the dad. Steve's
Yeah.
the son. 31-year age difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the last born out of everybody.
Yeah.
So we saved the
So
brains for last. And I don't care about saying that because none of the other kids are ever going to hear this. But I
yeah,
agree with
we're
all of that,
joking,
Dave.
but
Yeah. But
it,
I do agree because I did not really like, I can't name one song off of Heaven and Earth or think of one melody. It just did not go boom. It didn't resonate into my heart, right
right.
through my chest, or make me feel reminiscent about any. It just totally like skipped right past me. Sorry,
Right,
guys.
yeah. Like I've said this before on the show, Heaven and Earth is my least favorite Yes studio album, but there are like gems on it that stand out for me, like Believe Again and To Ascend. And like I do think what we've heard from the Quest is a step up from Heaven and Earth, like it's a step in the quote unquote right direction, but I am kind of looking forward to a time when Heaven and Earth might get its own renaissance now that it's no longer the final word on new Yes music, you know, like stuff like
That's
that has happened
interesting, and
for
maybe they'll bring
Drama and even Union, I
and
guess.
yeah, and play some of that live. So you just reminded me of an idea I had for an episode, and I want to throw it out there. I have not talked to Stephen about this, and this is also for you viewers slash listeners, depending on whether you're listening to the audio or watching us. What do you think if we did an episode where we get the listeners, viewers to pitch in as well, and everybody pick a song or two from two or three of their least favorite Yes albums and make a set list out of
Oh, wow.
songs from their least favorite? I bet we'd end up with a very interesting thing that may be fragmented from their respective albums and put together like that. We'd end up with something really entertaining. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, it could be very diverse and well, like showcasing different eras because people's least favorite Yes albums, you can kind of predict what the least favorites overall are. But I'd be curious to see if there are any surprises in there from anyone. Like maybe someone's least favorite Yes album is Topographic Oceans because it's
Yeah,
just too much, you
I
know?
was going to say that if there's like a 21-year-old out there that recently came into Yes in the last couple of years and they're into stuff that's a little bit more commercial and shorter things, they might like
Maybe Big Generator
big
90125 is their
open
favorite.
your eyes, yeah, and then think that like Gates of Delirium is like, I'm going to hell if I listen to this whole thing all the way through. I got to go to confession now. You know,
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. So we don't know what we would end up with a set list like that. And to be quite honest, I'm going to be totally transparent about this. The reason I say suggest songs from your top two or three or bottom two or three Yes albums is because honestly, I think otherwise we would only end up with Heaven and Earth songs or Heaven and Earth and Open Your Eyes. I know a lot of people aren't fond of Open Your Eyes. I fucking love
Right.
that album. I love that tour. I love the bootlegs. I love that album. It has some beautiful music on it and it has some rocking stuff on it. And I think John's voice is amazing. I really like that album and the playing. And I remember when it came out and Steve Howe said with the addition of Billy and with the keyboard position changing to Igor, he said, this is a new Yes. This is a brand new Yes. And it was sort of a rebirthing, and I thought it was great. And then when the ladder came out, it leapt way ahead with Bruce
Yeah.
doing the production on that.
I mean, it really was a ladder, like upward.
Yeah. And so you never know. So I'd like to throw that out there to everybody. Email us. You could comment on these posts, but be a lot easier if you please email us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com and give us 3 songs from 2 or 3 of your least favorite Yes albums. I know that sounds weird to even say that.
Now, would that be 3 songs from each of those?
However they want. However
Okay,
they
yeah.
want. I'm just sort of stretching the boundaries so we don't just get
Yeah,
30
okay, so,
submissions
like
from the same album.
Yeah, so like not strict rules, like yeah, so yeah.
Right. And we'll put a list of maybe 12 songs together. Like how many songs are typically in a Yes show? Depends on, you know, I understand the can of worms that opens up, but let's say 12 to 15 songs we'll list, and Steve and I will put them in the order, but you folks send them in. We'll aggregate them to most mentioned to least mentioned. Let's see what we come up with. and maybe even find bootlegs of all those songs. Maybe some of them weren't even performed. But how cool would that be? I like that idea personally.
Yeah, like I don't know when we'll get to that idea, but that
Next
would be
week, we're recording
really
it next week. Send your ideas in now. I'd like to do that soon. I personally think that's as good as an idea of Mr. Harris writing in and saying, for us to kind of talk about all the different visual concert footage.
Yeah, concert film rundown. Yeah.
I'm excited.
There's like so much I want to do soon, but like looking at the calendar, it's like, wow, we have like a lot of ideas and we need like more time for all these ideas.
Yeah, we're both a little busy. So for those of you who don't know, I'm the founder and executive producer and CEO and cat litter box changer of the largest media company online that covers the world of drumming, Drum Talk TV. And in the success of that in the first year, I wanted to teach other people how I did it. So I have a whole separate content marketing, social media marketing training company where I teach businesses, and I've worked with gold and platinum artists, all kinds of different businesses. And Steve works for both of those companies and he's got his own.
I do other stuff on the side. We'll need to go into that.
Well, just to exemplify that we love doing this so much that we make time for it. I put off a business podcast. I have to make time for this. Steve's a novelist. He does other podcast stuff in another world.
Yeah.
So we're busy, but we want to plow through some of these great ideas while they're fresh and involve you folks as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely.
So final words on this, Steve? What do you think?
On the ideas or on the song?
On the song and the album. So here's a question for everybody. Does this song make you anticipate what's on the rest of the album more, or make you less excited about it?
Right. So I'm still very excited about the album. I don't know if this song necessarily upped my excitement, but it makes me more curious about the rest of the material at the very least. And yeah, I'm just hoping for a good variety of really good songs. I know that we've heard in recent weeks that like that second disc of like, I think it's like 4 tracks or whatever. It kind of feels really separate from the main tracks on the first disc. So I'm curious to hear like both of those like all together. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to this. Like October can't come soon enough for the release of this album. We've been waiting years for this next new album.
Good point. And what's the date again?
October 1st.
Okay. So yeah, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, it's a month away. Which in my world's right around the corner.
Yeah, it'll come by quickly.
Yeah. So folks, let us know, give us your takes as well on all of this stuff. And we'd love to hear from you via our email regarding the ideas that we mentioned and anything else. If you have any other ideas, this is your show too. And eventually when Steve and I can kind of clear our plate a little bit more, we will start reaching out to members of the band and Roger Dean. I'd love to have Roger Dean. If you missed that episode, check out our tribute to Roger Dean for his birthday. Probably one of my favorite episodes, the longest episode. And we're going to be putting out a visual presentation of that so you can see all the different artwork that we talk about during that episode. I just have to carve out time to get to it. I'm very busy and important.
Yeah, like
well, busy anyways.
Yeah, it took me a moment to like realize like just said. But yeah, the audio for that Roger Dean episode is out, but the video version will be worth the wait because like there's a lot of really great stuff from him to showcase. And yeah, that was like a huge episode, but it was really cool going through all those lists that people submitted of their top 3s from Roger Dean.
And we shared like at least maybe a dozen or so of them, a dozen and a half.
Yes. I also like did a tally of like what the top 3 mentions were from.
Go ahead and mention that. Yeah.
So
I'm going to guess. Can I guess?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So folks, if you don't know what we're talking about on the Roger Dean tribute episode, and this is how we'll round out this one, we asked people ahead of time on a post for Roger's birthday that had a collage of a bunch of artwork. And we said, not limited to what's in this graphic. Let us know what are your top 3 works by Roger Dean. Top of the lists were Relayer, I think got the most. Relayer, Close to the Edge, Tales from Topographic Oceans, and Yes Songs was way up there. Yes Songs is sort of a cheat because it's like 8 works in one, but we'll go ahead and count it. But those are the top 4, yeah?
Well, not in that order, but yeah, those are the top 4.
Okay, so cool. So give us the order.
Yeah, so if my count is correct, Tails got 32, so it's at number 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Relayer got 20. Well, okay, so if we include yours, like, okay, I have to think about our counts as well, I guess. But so Tails would have 33 then. Relayer had 26 total. Close to the Edge had 15, and Yes Songs had 14.
Interesting. It felt like Close to the Edge got more, but Relayer, I was shocked at how often that was mentioned. And folks, listen to the episode to find out why. Carve out some time, get on the treadmill, go for a bike ride, just listen to it. It's an hour and a half long, but it's a real fun conversation.
Hour 52, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2 hours long. Sorry. But it involves you folks, as many of you that participated, and you always have that opportunity. Email us, and I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can find all our episodes at anchor.fm/Yesshift. And there you can find all the different podcasting platforms that we're on. And
that's
you can
for
find,
the audio.
Yeah. And you can also find video stuff, like videos of some of these episodes over on our Facebook page. So yeah, it's always a great time. Like, we always find lots of stuff to talk about with these different Yes and Yes related topics. Like, it's such a huge world. It's crazy.
It is. It is. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell your friends and even people you don't like. And we'll talk to you soon. More to come.
Yeah. Have a good one, and listen to more Dare to Know and The Ice Bridge if you want while we wait for this next album. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.